No, that's so good. Okay.
Good evening and welcome to the Sunbury Village Council meeting on August 4th, 2021. It is 7:30 p.m. Would you please join me for a moment of silent prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance? Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Joe St. John.
Here.
Jamie Campbell.
Here.
Rick Elliott.
Here.
Tim Ghost.
Here.
Mark Fisher.
Here.
Dave Martin.
Here.
Cindy Cooper.
Here.
7 present.
We did have a meeting on July 21st, 2021. If you've had a chance to review the minutes, would you please make a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Motion by Greg Elliott,
Second.
second by Dave Martin. Discussion? Roll call?
Rick Elliott.
Yes.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
Cindy Cooper.
Yes.
Martin Fisher.
Yes.
St. John.
Yes.
Tim Ghost.
Yes.
Jamie Campbell.
Yes.
7 yeas.
Going to the visitors section, we do have a few scheduled visitors, and are there any unscheduled visitors? I'll first say we have Nancy Crawford. We have Jean Litton. We have Al Blythe. Hello. And we have Joe Save from District 13, unscheduled. We'll save you.
No, sorry.
Sorry. That's right. I said Freudian slip. Honestly. Yeah, sorry about that, Joe. Thanks for joining us tonight, and we'll have you speak after Al. Okay. All right, Nancy, you want to come up to the podium? There should be a green light on the microphone. If it's not on, it's just a simple click.
I turned it on.
Nancy is from the Big Walnut Chamber of Commerce.
Hi, yeah, and thank you, Mayor and council members, for having me. I'm really here tonight because I wanted to introduce myself. I have lived in Ohio for almost 17 years, and I've spent the majority of that time in this community. I moved away for a little bit, and then during COVID last year, I moved back. I'm actually a resident of the village. And then in the end of June, I took the position as the director of the Chamber of Commerce. And so I'm here to kind of build a bridge, hopefully. I want to let all of you know that I would like to have an open relationship. I would like to keep the line of communications open. I have an agenda, and I know that I have a lot to learn, and I'm sure that I will learn a lot of that here. So you'll probably see more of me, or you'll hear from me. And as well, if there's anything that the chamber can do for the village, please reach out to me.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Nancy while we've got her on the podium? Anyone?
Thank you.
I want to say, if you haven't been into the chamber, you've done a really nice job inside. They have a lot of great information.
Thank you.
Nancy and her assistant do a great job bridging the gap between elected officials, residents, and
Thank you.
businesses. A couple key things that the chamber has going on August 20th. They have their annual golf outing at Royal American. So if you're a business owner or just a golf hacker, Dana, you can join too.
Why do you call them out like that?
We have a council group,
We should.
a council
We do.
squad.
We do have a couple council groups. Sorry. Go ahead.
Joe has made it really clear he's taking everybody down, so.
That's right. No pressure.
It's on the record.
That is on record right now. It will be the best dressed team out there.
Speak for yourself.
You're on my team.
I know.
Thank you very much, Nancy. Thanks for joining. All right, we have Jean. Nice to see you in person.
I'm not in the picture again.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity. I really wasn't expecting to make a presentation. I'm just here to answer questions, but just real briefly, as the area's newest service club, I guess we can claim that, and also the youngest. I think I'm the old man of the group. The average age is around 40, which is fun for a service club, but we're low in numbers. We have about 12 members. So this is a plea, first of all, for our community to step up and help us, because we're really trying to make things better for the children of this community. That's the whole focus for Kiwanis. We're coming to you tonight because I think you're aware that we've filed the application to host the flea market, Labor Day flea market on the square this year. Last year it was on hiatus because of COVID. We did go ahead and do a drive-through barbecue that was very successful. But this year we'd like to come back to that. In the past, it's been hosted, I believe by the Civic Group or something here. And I think 2 years ago, we helped them do that. And then we're officially taking it over this year. As part of that request, we'd like to be able to close the street here, Granville Street between Columbus and Vernon, because that would be where we would put some food vendors. We are going to have a food tent ourselves, the Kiwanis will, but then in addition, I imagine we could have 5 or 6 other vendors that will be there. In terms of flea market booths, I think right now we have about 60 spaces rented out. We're expecting it could go up to maybe 75 or 80. I don't expect it to be much higher than that. And the flea market itself will be from 7 to 4 on Labor Day. I don't know. Other than that, I don't know if you have any questions for me or not. I'd be glad to answer them.
Those booths, Gene, are they going to be over here on the grass or
Correct.
this side, just kind of this side, or potentially all over?
Potentially all over. We want to space people out still. COVID's still around, so we're going to try to keep the booths spaced out. Now the food trucks would all be on the street there, spaced out on the street.
Over there.
Right.
Right.
But the actual vendor flea market booths would be around the square.
Are you having a kid zone?
Yes, we are. There's a kids zone. There'll be games and things for the kids there. Other than that, it's just the flea market. We're not planning any kind of, contest or anything like that. Like I said, we have 12 members. So if anyone in the community wants to help, we're going to be soliciting help for that day too, because it's going to be a big undertaking with us doing the food tent and then all the things that go on with the flea market itself.
Are you charging a fee for people to
No,
get
we are
on the
not.
square then? Okay.
This is a community event.
Right.
We're a club that's here to serve the community, and we want people to come and mingle, and so that's our intent.
So the reason this is coming for approval before this board, we did approve several events all in batch form earlier this year, including the 4th of July parade and fireworks and sizzle. However, this was not included in that initial request, so we would need to approve the use of the square.
Well, I'd like to make that motion.
All right, sounds good. Would that also include the street closure?
Yeah.
Okay, and we did get Chief Howard to get on board. I notified the fire department. Chief is on board, and they have no objections. We have a motion on the floor. Dave Martin,
I'll second.
second by Cindy Cooper. Discussion.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Please.
I don't know what Kiwanis Club is. It's new to me. Just like a quick overview of what that is?
Sure. Kiwanis Club International is a international organization. Basically, the focus of the club is children, and we really, almost all the money we raise goes to the school age children. We've been in existence here in Sunbury. The Sunbury Big Walnut Kiwanis Club has only been in existence. I think we're just starting our 3rd year. What we've been able to do is we've sponsored some kids to leadership training. We think it's really important to instruct our youth in leadership so they can fill your seats someday. So that's a big focus of what we do. But anything that we could do to sponsor young teenagers, young kids. We're also looking this year to start a builders club, which is like a leadership club at the middle school level. So we're working with Josh Fromm, who's also a member of the Kiwanis Club, to try to get that established. So those are some of the things that we do.
It's a personal story. When I was a kid, I would go to my grandparents for Thanksgiving in Woodsfield, Ohio, very small town. They call it Switzerland of Ohio because the mountains are so steep. But it's true. Switzerland of Ohio country roads are so steep. They are. They're mountains. But my grandfather used to take me around. He was a member of the Kiwanis Club, and we would deliver Thanksgiving Day meals. And I remember just seeing people cry as we're coming up to their house. So I know they've been around for a long time, and their purpose has always remained just. Thank you.
Okay.
We do need a roll call.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper,
Yes.
Martin Fisher,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Tim Goes,
Yes.
Capel,
Yes.
7 yeas.
Thank you for doing this. Right. Is it Mr. Blight?
Yes.
The Rotary Club.
Yeah, one of the other service organizations in the community. Rotary has been in this community for 24 years, I believe, something close to that. We meet in the first floor of this building in a space that's approximately this size. So it's 32 by 30 by 12 feet high. Since the remodeling, that room has become virtually unusable because it's so echoey. It's incredibly loud. So our weekly speakers can't be heard well. The Zoom meetings are washed out. If any of you were there last Thursday when Alan Rothermel's going away party was on, you had a chance to experience what that's become like. The only soft thing left in the room is the American flag. So we got hard floor, we've got big windows, a plaster ceiling, plastered walls, and not much else. So we would like to see the village partner with Rotary to try to quiet it down. I've done some research and I'm overwhelmed with opportunities and different options for it. I think one of the first things that could be done that would help everybody out would be some window treatments. Put some blinds up or some curtains up, and then blinds in a couple of windows would really help us in terms of if we do have a PowerPoint presentation from somebody, we put it on the wall. You can't see that very well in early morning with the sun coming in. So that would help that part of it. Doesn't have anything to do with the sound. But the window treatments would be one leg of it. A second leg of the stool would probably be to put some acoustic panels up. There are lots of options with that. I talked to the people at Kinetics out in Dublin. They immediately said, oh, you need to do an acoustics test. And when can I come out to do that? And do an acoustics test on the room and blah, we'll figure out what would be the best solution. I said, well, wait a minute, that sounds like it's got a price tag hooked to it. It does. It's about $500 to do that room. If he would do this room and Mayor's Court, he would do all three of them for about $800. I kind of like the KISS approach and going online. We can pick up these acoustic wall panels in a 2 foot by 4 foot by 2 inch thick with a fire retardant fabric on it in a neutral color for about $200 a piece. So we're looking at if you did 12 of those, so you were basically doing 4 different walls with a 6 foot by 4 foot wall panel. We'd be looking at about $2,500 for the panels. If you guys would buy them, we'd get them put up. If you want to kick tires around some more on this, then I'm going to see if we could maybe put some quilts up in the short term and then look for a longer term solution down the road. But really think that if you're going to use that room for the types of things you have, there's some kind of party going on down there now, and when I walked past that, my ears were ringing. But you know, everything from memorial services to graduations to quiet meetings go on in that space. So it would really, the third thing is carpet. You know, these kind of carpet squares like this, I brought one, those are about $37 to $45 a square yard. So you'd be looking at $3,500 to $4,000 to do a whole room. I'm not sure it's going to do that much to just put carpet in. It would certainly cut down foot traffic noise and that kind of thing. But the recommendations I've heard was the carpet's not enough all by itself. And it's really nice to have a floor that you can mop up. And so I think that should be the last thing that's done if the others don't work so well. Got questions for me?
Real quick, I'd heard about this 4 weeks ago, I'm sorry, and Alan had requested that we look into this. We were already looking into this with Mayor's Court, especially when the plexiglass panels were up. The magistrate was having a hard time connecting with the clerk and the attorneys, and so we have been looking at this. We also looked at quilts, we've looked at ceiling panels. I think at least the direction we've landed on, especially accelerated with your concerns as well, is we do want to go with the wall panels. We're working through the specs right now. Our Mayor's Court is, I would say, taking the lead, but Steve Piles is also tuned into this. I've tuned into our attorneys with Dave Bream and Vic Whitney.
And I've talked to these two gentlemen here also about it.
Okay. And we are going to address this. I know it's not at the speed of the private sector, but we're going to do our fastest in the public sector to get this addressed. What I did recommend or strongly suggest is that we keep a comprehensive approach with this. So I think we can get an economy of scale.
Sure.
If we do the 3 floors together. Obviously the second and the first floor are definitely the highest priority. The first is obviously the worst, but we want it to look nice. We want it to be simple, no maintenance. I think you and I have probably done a lot of the same research, and we are going to address this. I'm sorry that you and I haven't had a chance to connect about that.
That's perfectly all right. I'm just thrilled that you're looking into it and moving ahead with it, because I think that it's an issue that we're going to have to address at some point. Sooner the better, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
Yeah. Anything else?
We may have to have a discussion about the oven downstairs.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not right here, but I know there is one of the kind of last toll gates for us to get final clearance for fire inspection is the oven and making sure the kitchen has a clear walkway. That is a big oven, and I know there's history behind it. I think you or the Lions may own it. I'm not certain, or have bought it. But the short version is we'll need to talk about that as well.
Okay, I'm also aware of that and have some ideas on it.
Great.
Thank you very much for having me in, and appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you,
Thanks,
sir.
Tom.
Did anybody have any questions? I'm sorry I cut you off, Dave.
No, I was just going to explain the part about window treatments. What he's talking about are curtains that are made of a cloth material.
Right.
Because that helps kill the sound. The chairs that were down there before the remodel were padded chairs.
Right.
And that helped muffle the echo a lot. And so now we have these kind of plastic chairs down there. And when you say a word, you're still hearing that word a while after it came out of your mouth. So
It is hard. I mean, you could be 5 feet away from somebody, and if somebody else is talking, it's like
you
there's
can't,
white noise
it's just, yeah.
right around you.
Yeah.
So I think it's the old phrase, no good deed goes unpunished, you know. But thank you very much. We're blessed to have many service organizations like Rotary, like Kiwanis in the area. So thank you. All right, we're on to,
So we got one more visitor.
right.
I'm sorry.
We're on to Joe Save, a serve.
From where?
The best burger in Sunbury.
I'm served, yes.
Yes.
All right, so my name is Joe, obviously. I have some stuff I want to pass around real quick. We're basically seeking approval from the council to proceed with what we have going on at the front of our restaurant here. So if you notice, obviously everybody's around. We have some forms out there. We didn't know we were going to need approval. They are going to be permanent structures, so that's why we found out we were going to need approval. We were maintaining the mulch bed out front with plants and shrubs and stuff like that. It just got away from us over the winter with the salt through the winter. We killed everything in it, we pulled everything out. And we thought we might kind of go a different direction, kind of help beautify, obviously, coming up in the Sunbury, with a little concrete sitting wall. It'll be a stamped concrete sitting wall about 24 inches high. If you notice from the CAD drawings there. And then I also have pictures of what it'll look like, except it'll be a little bit lighter in color. And then on top of these walls, we'll go planters as if like we have on the corner that just got done, fan corner to us. So yeah, we're here seeking approval from the council to continue, and if we get approval, hopefully we can get it done this weekend. Get our planters up and some plants and some shrubbery in there.
We've had some discussion about objects in the right of way as over the past few months.
Yeah.
This is the latest one. I guess the one thing I did want to mention is ODOT has given this the verbal okay.
Yes.
That was gonna be my question
Well, they said
because
they
of
have
ODOT's right
in
away.
the village, is what they told us.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's
No, but I don't know that.
Which is interesting because I know that they are very aggressive down in Galena on the corner.
Yeah, I thought it was strange too,
Scenario.
because this is 30, I mean, it's a highway, but.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
I guess the one thing.
Limited access highway, ODOT can come in.
oh, that may be the difference.
That is what was explained to me.
Okay.
I guess the two things I wanted to mention is, do we have an approval process for this? Is this that right now, where somebody's requesting to put something in the right of way? Next question would be around aesthetics. Do we have any say in what it looks like? I mean, we just put a brick wall up directly across the street. No,
Yeah, so
there's
this
stamped
actually
concrete.
will complement some of the sandstone on our building right now. So it, as far as the parapets go, the lintels, and then also the foundation of our building. And then it also will complement Molly's building also, except it won't be red, but it'll be kind of the same stamped concrete look.
And then maintenance. So this is it's technically village property, right?
Yeah, it's in the village right away. We do not have an approval process for this. We do have a right of way permit. Was established in 2010. That permit has been used for construction purposes. So if somebody wants to do construction in our right of way, they need to get from one side of the road to the other for utilities or whatever. They need to saw cut it. It's just getting us involved in the process, making sure it's done properly, backfilled, insurance, all that.
Yeah, so we did have it marked out when we started the process, and there's no active utilities coming into the building from that direction, from the street. They're all on the side of the building.
And you're not impacting the parking spaces at all?
No, we're actually, if you look at the sidewalk part of it, we're actually making a sidewalk compliant, ADA compliant. It was 36 inches and now it's gonna be 42, is what?
Yeah, it's gonna be 4 foot.
4 foot.
Yeah, 36 is a minimum you can have, so it really was compliant, I guess, but it just gets you closer.
Is this gonna run all the way to the corner,
It
guys?
is not, actually, that'll come all the way to the corner of our building. So that's not to
That
scale
picture's
as far as that
Yeah.
end one goes.
I actually can look, so.
Yeah.
Come around and look.
We actually took that back more. So we took the bed back more to get more access from the side, from the corner. From the corner for wheelchair, to get more, more people who walk side by side, so on and so forth.
How about
So
the
we
other,
took about 2 foot off of that end of that.
how about that other side, Joe? As we see in the diagram, is this going to be here as well, extending?
No, that'll be at the end of my building. So that won't go in front of Steve's at all.
It'll be building to building, corner
Yes,
of your
it'll
building,
be
corner.
right in front of our building, corner to corner, and then there's 2 walk-ups,
3 sections,
3 sections.
similar in length.
Yep.
Okay.
Except for that last section in front of Steve's, that's like 10 foot. But nothing will go beyond both corners of our building.
And it's gonna be white. This,
It won't be white, it will be a concrete, stamped concrete.
Is it going to be just like that for the most part?
Pattern.
Yeah, but lighter. It won't be that dark of a color.
Isn't this something that should go through zoning before being brought to us? I don't know that it's a zoning issue. I mean, it's in the public right of way. Normally your right of way permits are a process that is done administratively. We just have never had this type of a issue brought to council. It's just funny how things work. I say this thing happens in my personal life where things come in twos or threes. It's not yet a similar issue about a right of way, you know, on a public street in a subdivision that you talked about in committee, and here you have one tonight. I don't know of any historical precedent for this within the village. To the extent there would have been, we probably would have a more thorough permit process for something like this. The issues that come to mind with me, and first of all, everybody loves your business. Everybody wants to be supportive, me including. The things that potentially you probably need to look at are site distances. I know when we put up our wall, I got 3 calls in the first week from people saying I can't see. It's dangerous. Who's doing this? Who approved it? Where's the study showing that it didn't hamper the site distance? I don't know that we necessarily had a study on site distance, but that was a concern with our wall. I don't know if we'll be with this wall or not, but I just don't know. I'm just really getting into this today. As far as an approval process, since there is no administrative process, it would fall to this council at this time. I think what we're talking about is developing a more thorough administrative process for things in the right of way. As a general rule, you don't want a lot of things in the right of way. But in town where we have 0 basically front setbacks, you know, the right of way runs right to everybody's door. So we're pretty much anything somebody does in front of their business is within the right of way. You know, we have had the specific zoning where we did the outside eating. Those facilities, there's specific criteria around that, but we don't have anything that governs this. So site distances would be an issue. You know, liability as far as that goes would be an issue. I don't know if we checked with our liability insurer to see. They probably will defer to us. I know that they had a very definite opinion on the other issue that we talked about tonight in committee. It's completely different from this. Don't get me wrong, it's apples and oranges. But we always want to check the liability side of it when we're doing something in the right of way, especially where there's pedestrians and traveling public. So we do need to check into that. Probably would look at the site distances. It looks like it's low. I think it's lower than what our wall would be across the street. Certainly, you don't have the columns like we have over there. Maybe that contributes to it. I don't know.
How tall is the
A
wall?
lot of issues with people walking through the beds and stepping in or whatever else, but. I mean,
The difficult thing is you're the first ones through the door. So it'd be really easy to say, oh, it looks good, there won't be an issue, and gosh, you know, I think it looks fine. Well, then we don't have a process for the next person that says, well, I want a wall in front of my building too, and I want a wall. Yeah, the noise comes in the grill too, you know, I want a wall. You know, that's the issue potentially we're dealing with. So that's as much as I know for tonight. I mean, this has just been raised to me the past couple of days, so.
I would say my comment is, you said it doesn't match this exactly, this
Not
color.
exactly. It's gonna be stamped just like that, but the color will be different.
So can we, before we approve anything, can we get an accurate to scale model like that we could put up on the screen and see the real color, the real size? Because you said that this drawing here doesn't, it's going to end at the end of the building, but in the drawing here, it goes out to the end of the curb. I mean, I guess before we approve anything, could we get an actual to scale model of what it's going to look like exactly?
Yeah, because it'll be just the color concrete, and so it's not a disaster. I mean, the forms are, you know.
It's all framed up over there now, isn't
Oh,
it?
yeah.
So the framing that we see over there is at the right distance and height now.
Oh, of course, yeah. And then once the frames come off, it'll be obviously shorter.
If it was intended originally that you came around.
24 inches high.
Behind this wall, and now you can't do it, or what? I gotta look at that.
And the other thing Dave and I were just talking about, which this drawing is not to scale, as Joe said, and looking down there, we would want to make sure that we're ADA compliant. It's not good enough to say, well, it's going to be better. Once you change something, you've got to make it fully compliant. I mean, there are all kinds of intersections all through town that are not ADA compliant, but when we go through and we fix them, we make them fully ADA compliant. Even if that means building, I mean, we've had to build retaining walls and everything else, pretty expensive projects, but we can't just continue. And I don't know what that means out there. Dave Parker says he still needs to look at it. We just want to make sure we're covering, at least covering all the boxes, and I'd like to have an actual permit that we issue, even if you're gonna be an expedited application. I'd like there to be a permit that's issued that talks about the fact that it's gonna be put in, but all of these things, normally when people put things in your right of way, it's a conditional approval, it's not exclusive, meaning just because that's there doesn't mean other things can't be there, right? And to the extent it ever becomes something that we require to be torn out, we can require it to be torn out. That's normally what those right-of-way permits say. You can do it, but it's all under these different terms and circumstances. Not that we would, the only reason you do it is because you were being told you had to, or we need to widen the street or whatever. Again, this right-of-way, you're setting a precedent here. When somebody's doing something in your right-of-way is there for a reason because you need it for your public services. This is just going to recite to the extent public services, legitimate public services, need to go here later. This could be revisited at your risk.
Yeah, I mean, we were looking at it too, and we have, 8-foot sidewalk in front of the building, and it drops off, and then there's a whole other sidewalk on the behind part of it.
I know. Yeah, historically, there's a lot of.
Yeah. So we purposely held back 7 feet from the existing wheelchair ramp that's there, and it is in fact ADA compliant.
Yeah, we put
We're
that in.
adding a piece of walk there too. Just a 2x4 section.
That's these guys' bailiwick.
Yeah.
That's one I can turn and look at him.
So the walk between the wall and your building is higher than the walk out by the curb?
Correct.
One step higher?
Yeah.
So it requires a step to get through here and a step to get through
There
here?
is the step there, right now. There is a step up.
We're not changing any of it.
Yeah, we're not changing any of that.
Just adding a planet wall next to the bench.
Yeah, we're just replacing the concrete for where the mulch beds were.
Okay.
It is a structure.
And then they access your front door by going around the wall on the west side?
No, it goes right up to the door.
Same as it was.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm asking. You're telling me there's a step there, but there's not a step there.
Yeah, there's a step there that goes straight in. So when you step off that lower sidewalk, you step up onto the higher walk that goes straight into our,
How does somebody in a wheelchair get into your building?
they come from the corner.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no ADA parking spaces in front of them. It's across the street, and so they park there and come across the street.
That's fine.
And on the ADA ramp there.
Yeah, that's what I was asking, and I asked if they go around the west end of the wall, and he said no, but they do. They go around the west end of the wall, and they come up to your door. Okay.
I just thought you were talking about the steps. I
Yeah, we'll take
didn't say anything about
There's
ADA.
an ADA spot right there along.
Okay.
There's a spot there.
Yeah.
And they come in from the east side of that ramp.
But how they get up onto the curb.
Into the east side ramp.
I think there's some details to work out here.
As much as I hate to be in these guys' way, I know you got a project going, you want to finish it. I just don't know that you're in a position to approve it tonight. There would be so many conditions on it, and I think there's maybe some things you want to hear or have further discussions on. I think we can have it ready in 2 weeks, but I think he's got to check into the ADA stuff. I've got to get something drawn up that's a permit that we can use for future people. Again, this isn't necessarily just about you.
Right.
It's about what we do when somebody shows up 2 months from now, where it's maybe not. I mean, you got a lot of space, hopefully you have no issues. I really hope for that. I hope that's what we're going to verify. But that won't be the case everywhere. Not everybody's going to be able to do that.
Right.
Yeah, we literally discussed this an hour ago in services that we would work to put a process in place for exactly this type of approvals, but we're not ready tonight, I don't think.
Aesthetically, Joe, have you guys given any thought to brick veneer instead of the stamped concrete? I mean, the only reason I bring that up is because we have, one on the other side there on the corner. I see you have brick, you got brick veneer on the upper half of your own building. Have you given any thought to that?
He's a concrete guy.
I thought the same thing, honestly, just for aesthetics. And I guess as a go forward plan, one thing I would want to see is some sort of uniformity. I mean, like we put in District 13, the black fence rail, if other folks are going to, put in outdoor seating, follow this type of criteria. I mean, that's not uncommon that we have, a set of standards so it looks somewhat uniform.
And we don't have that now, obviously. We don't have anything right now for this.
Right.
So.
And that's the other thing you need to decide. Do you want sitting walls all the way around and businesses on the square? Can it be one every other business or every third business? Because the reasons they're given, everybody could say. I mean, theoretically, because of noise, we can't grow plants because of salt. I mean, that's everywhere. And I'm not saying good or bad, and I think what you guys are planning in your particular location, maybe it looks fine.
It's good for the parade.
But the question would be,
Oh, yeah.
if you had one every third business around the square, what's that look like? Or every fifth? I don't know, but you're talking about comprehensive and cohesion and aesthetics and what looks right, and, that's just nothing we've ever looked at.
Yeah, I mean, aesthetically, it's really kind of my question. I mean, from a liability perspective, I don't think there's much of an issue there. It's an open and obvious condition. You got a wall there. Everybody can see it, especially if you're putting flower pots on top.
Right.
I don't think that's going to be an issue. It's just,
And when
does it blend in? Does it look right? Does that stone look? I love it looking at it. That's just the only thing in that area. But then my eye goes over to the other corner and there's the brick sitting wall. So I don't know, maybe I'm just throwing it out there, maybe brick on the lower half and stamped on top,
Right.
overhanging. Just
One thing
thinking out loud.
Sorry, you're behind, you're right on the monitor, I can tell you. I would say the one thing you could say that could differentiate this from others would be they are right in the line where those trucks come through there. And that sound just goes right up through that corridor. I mean, you really get it.
Yeah.
Way more than that side,
Oh, yeah.
way more than this side.
That's why we never wanted.
Way more than, maybe this side is the worst and maybe, that next intersection could make similar claims, but I think you're probably the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the audio would bear out, but I have a feeling it would bear out.
So what do we send Mr. Save away with?
I think I think we should probably work with the administrator for the next 2 weeks so we can check all the boxes, get a permit together and get him back here in 2 weeks for hopefully a final approval on it. And that puts you off 2 weeks.
And we'll need to write some type of a ordinance or.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to do a right of way, use ordinance with an accompanying permit. They're out there, it's a significant project. But I'd like to at least get it to a point where we're comfortable to get these guys moving forward. We can always tweak it as we need to after that.
Sounds good.
But in that 2 week period, would you have the ability to do more of a scaled plan for us?
I mean, I can try.
Okay. I think that's probably going to be an element of the permit anyways, is to have some precision on what's going to be built, so.
All righty. Well, thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks,
for
Joe.
coming in.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks.
See you in a couple weeks.
All right. You guys want to keep that stuff?
Yeah, if you don't mind. Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, we're on to committee reports.
I yield to Mr. Ghost.
All right. That's good.
Yes.
Same thing.
No, saying yes, I have a report.
Floor is still yours.
Thank you. So I went to, no one be jealous, I went to the Delaware Area Regional Planning Committee. It was in person. And the one of many interesting things that was in that meeting was they are going to be hosting a free zoning training workshop on Saturday, August 28th from 9 to noon. They're going to be sending out more information and I'll pass that on to you guys as well. But just says here, they're going to discuss a number of issues benefiting zoning commissions, BZAs, trustees, and other township personnel. They made it clear it's really mostly going to be for townships, but that they thought it would be beneficial for village members too. So I'll probably try to go to that, especially since I'm on the Delaware Area committee, and I'm not on the zoning committee here. I think it would be beneficial for me to go, and I'll share all that information with you guys if anyone wants to join me.
Do you know the date?
It was, yeah, August 20th,
Thank you.
9 Indian, Saturday.
Thank you very much. Anything else?
Not tonight.
All right. Mr. Fisher?
Nothing here. We just had a very productive services committee meeting this evening. One of the big things we talked about was right away. And we came to the conclusion that we were going to ask Mr. Piles to work on getting us started on some kind of an approval process. Among other things, we would have to decide who does the approvals, who does any type of appeal to those approvals. Do the neighbors have any say in what gets built in the right of way, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of details to iron out, but hopefully we can expedite this and have something in place that we can use going forward. We talked about street trees in a couple different ways, both in Sunbury Mills and what was the Sunbury Estates, that's the other one. Talked about replacing trees in the mills and what our plan would be there. And Mr. Parkinson's going to have us something on that probably by the next time we meet. And then we are going to conduct a meeting with ODNR, maybe an arborist regarding Sunbury Mills trees and sidewalk plan. And then maybe touch base with the residents in that area as well. And then Mr. Parkinson's also going to get us a plan for the stormwater draining issues on Bachman. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Gross?
Yeah, we just had a parks meeting before this meeting tonight, and two main items we discussed. Number one was J.R. Smith Park and the flag football folks in the regular football group, Big Walnut Youth group. They've been approved to do their thing for the next several Saturdays going into the fall. Alan and Brad met with me, and they're going to continue to stripe the field and do the cleanup work afterwards, the trash and everything. And Brad's group will do the lawn mowing and other field work. So that'll continue as it always has been. But we did, and they're going to dress up the scoreboard a little bit too. Do some painting and put a nice banner up on the lower half so that'll look better. They agreed to do that at their own cost. And then the other part of that was the discussion. We broke the ice on how we're going to handle the two buildings that they use and potentially sharing in some future expenses of that building. So we got some more follow-up work to do on that. So it was positive, very good. And the other item we talked about, Mr. Parsons presented us with the Central Ohio Greenways Trail Towns group, Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission, new group. That's, as I understand, it's the primarily consulting group. They propose to come into the towns along the trail, the Ohio Erie Trail, and help create a guidebook for your community. Talking about how to boost economic viability and the tourism traffic, signage, how to brand your village or city for getting folks, bikers and hikers into your area. So what they want to do, as I understand it, are asking for some help, financial assistance, and we have I believe it's an ordinance, or I think it's a resolution actually tonight.
The resolution.
Yeah, 2021.12. Asking us to fund them to help build our guidebook, our plan. I think to the tune of about $2,000, but I don't know if I captured that all right. Steve, what else could you add to that?
Not much, other than, the major seed money for this project is through the Columbus Foundation. Morpsey was awarded $20,000 through their granting authority to start the seed money. They're involving about 5 communities in central Ohio that are along the Ohio Erie Trail, and including Galena, Mount Vernon, Gambier, and London, Ohio.
Centerburg, I see too.
Yeah,
there.
and Centerburg. So,
Yeah, so that resolution is there tonight. I think it's a great idea. I think a couple $1,000s well spent to bring in, to get us basically a marketing plan and some advice, some sound advice on how to build our infrastructure and get the signage put up and how to market our city. So
It's sort of similar to what we were just talking about on the square, because what they want is to ideally get all the villages and the areas all to look similar, so that when folks are on the trail, they can recognize I'm on the right path. I know where I'm at. Everything looks similar. So it goes right into what we were just talking about on the square, when everything sort of looks nice and folks can bring some comfort.
yeah, consistency was one of
Consistency, yeah.
their main points of emphasis too. So everybody will be consistent.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Elliott.
We had a lively planning and zoning commission meeting last week regarding a new multifamily establishment on the west side of 71 built by developer DR Kenny. Lots of unresolved issues, or I should say issues, just open items before the commission felt that we could approve it for rezoning. So they're going to come back in the next month with some resolutions to that, and then we can vote to rezone it. Rezone it, correct? Is that, yeah, thank you. And then we've also been talking about changes to the code. So we had a separate meeting to discuss certain changes to the code. Again, I think there was another lively meeting. That's probably a lot of work from the Planning and Zoning Commission has gone into it, and a lot more work to be done still. But so I'm sure we'll in council see some of those things coming to bear soon.
Thank you. I'll add on to what Greg said, just to, so we did have a public hearing in zoning for the DRK apartments. It was our biggest attendance yet. We had 12 people here, and we're honestly, I thought everybody gave really good feedback. Everybody gave really good feedback. I think the majority of the folks that spoke were Berlin residents. One thing that was nice to hear is the developer met with the Berlin residents prior to the meeting. So some of the concerns were voiced, and what I would say, even though there are open items that are being worked on, the developer was very amenable to solutions and addressing feedback from both the commission and from the residents, which was very promising. It was a really collaborative session. There was a lot of back and forth. It was a 2-hour meeting. By far our largest YouTube viewership at 28 views. Very proud of that as well.
That many?
28. That's right.
Going viral.
I was 6 of those. I've watched it a couple times.
I was 3, so.
I had to check sound, so I was 1.
It was a really good meeting. I think the developer came very prepared, and they've been through this before. And I would expect that council will have a public hearing on this in September. It's my understanding that the developer will be able to satisfy the zoning commission's outstanding request prior to the zoning meeting later this month. That's my forecast. And then on the zoning code review, one thing of note for council is, if you've ever read our zoning code, which I haven't read it all the way through, but I encourage you to do it and let me know how it goes, is within each element of the code, there's different fees for different items, inspection fees and things like that. One thing we are proposing as the zoning commission, and I think will simplify all of our lives, is pulling every element where a dollar amount is referenced within the code and creating a separate table called a fee schedule that we can then ratify and make amendments to in council year over year, adjust for inflation, adjust for changes in the market. And that'll make it much more appropriate, as opposed to trying to review the entire code every year and looking for anomalies. So that's one exciting thing. Plenty of work to do though, on top of that. That said, are there any other committee reports? All right, we are on to the police report. And I don't know that we have a police report, but I'll give a very quick update. Chief Howard and Officer Whiteside are actually in an all-week training in Tennessee. They're meeting with multi-jurisdictional bodies, including ATF, FBI, all the other three-letter acronyms. And yes. They're talking a lot about, like, especially as things do go bad, how do jurisdictions work together? They talked about the Tennessee Christmas bombing, the Nashville bombing, and how that response was handled, how to speed up response time. And I've touched base with him a couple times this week, and he said it's very good. And the last thing you'll see on an ordinance 2021.39, which is the ordinance, it's our pay ordinance. We did make a change to one of the police positions. We've always had an approved lieutenant position. We were looking to fill that lieutenant position. The lieutenant position, you'll notice, is no longer on the pay ordinance. All we've done is change the title. I'll explain that in a second. We've changed it to the Deputy Chief of Police. And the reason is it's the same pay rate, same general responsibilities. The one thing, as we approach collective bargaining with the police department and the fraternal order of police, is there are going to be folks, whether they're managing people or not, that will be on the union side of the agreement, and there are folks who are on the management side. And the way we are structured currently is the lieutenant would be on the union side, and in short terms, we need a chief and a deputy chief of police that are not in the union. So there is an escalation path for issues with either one of them. So that's the short version. If you have any questions about it, I can get more specific as the ordinance comes up. That's all I have. Administrator report.
3 days. I do not have a formal report.
Tell us everything. Yeah, welcome.
Been doing some research on right-of-ways and lots of other little things. But I did want to mention one thing. Brad and his crew have been putting the bucket truck to good use. And they're probably right around 30 streetlights have been fixed. There's a couple that they're still trying to evaluate because what they thought should work didn't. So there's a few more that are still out, but they made some great progress really quick with the truck, and understand it's had a couple washes and waxes already. So they appreciate your investment, and they're going to take care of it, and they're going to use it.
Good deal. Saw him in our neighborhood changing light bulbs.
Yeah, us too. I've seen him several times.
I don't know who, I'm not sure who it was, but I took a picture, sent it to Steve.
I jumped out of the car and was like, "Hey, can I take it up?" And they're like, "No."
I looked at my wife and kids. I was like, "We bought that." They were all like, "What?"
The two that he's having an issue with, and I didn't want to get this detail, but there are two very difficult, I'd say, short problems. Something, it might be an ohmage problem. I don't know, but it's they're right in your neighborhood. And it's the one you mentioned. It's by the pool, and then kind of by RJ Rent's house in the neighborhood. There's two within, I want to say, 200 yards of each other that they've laid the entire pole down and tried to rewire it, and it's still not working. So they're going to get it fixed. Okay. Sorry, Steve.
Thank you.
All right, good deal. We're on to the engineer report. Dave Parkinson.
Thank you, Mayor. I uploaded my report to the OneDrive on Monday morning, I believe. So the full report is there for your perusal at your convenience. Just some of the highlights. Fallen Heroes Multi-Use Trail Phase 2. We're going through the contract document execution at the moment. They're being finalized, and then we'll kick that thing into gear and get it going. The Fallen Heroes Multi-Use Trail Phase 3. We've received notification that we will receive a grant for that, a little over $50,000. It's half the cost of construction. I have prepared a proposal for us to design Phase 3 for you. And so we're simply waiting for authorization to begin design on that. At this point in time, we'll complete the design over the early winter, bid it out December, January timeframe, and have a contractor ready to go in March, April, as soon as weather breaks. That's the plan at the moment. The wastewater facilities plan update is the work continues, as does the work on the 2021 wastewater treatment plant improvements projects. Both projects have been somewhat hampered by vacation schedules, but we're getting out of those, and we hope to get back at it pretty quickly here. The Ohio EPA Water Pollution Control Loan Fund loan application, I'm told, was approved on July 29th. I believe we're waiting for paperwork to be executed for that. That was in the amount of that loan was to pay for the facilities plan update and for the design of the wastewater treatment plant improvements. The Preservation Parks of Delaware County, their trail grant application is due on October 1st. We just in the early stages of putting together the application. It's a pretty simple application. It won't take long. We have selected phase 4 of the Fallen Heroes multi-use trail. That's basically the trail that goes across the Gannon property and connects up to the existing Ohio Dairy Trail there at the corner with Pulte. The Price Ponds engineer has submitted a mass excavation application, set of plans requesting approval to begin mass excavation. Just take a quick sidebar. For those of you that have been around a while, you may remember we had this conversation with the hospital. When they came in, the plans weren't ready enough to approve as a major site plan or for the zoning, certificate of zoning compliance. And they wanted to start moving dirt. And they had 100 acres of dirt out there. They needed to get going, and they were hoping to finish all the design work while they were in the process of moving dirt. So we did provide, we developed, if you will, on the fly, a process by which the certificate was approved and the major site plan was approved contingent upon blah, 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 and that let them start the mass excavation. It's a different program. We aren't in the zoning section where they need a major site plan approval. We aren't in the section where they need a zoning certificate of compliance. We're just into subdivisions, and in subdivisions, they get plan approvals. So I think that it's perfectly within the intent of the code to allow us to approve a mass excavation plan. It will come back to council for approval because you do approve those plans. So we're in the process of proceeding under that assumption until we're told otherwise. But I do think it's consistent with what we've done. I think it's consistent with the intent of the plans, and I think it's appropriate. It's a pretty big project. And for them to get out in front of it a little bit, I don't think hurts. Yeah, these mass excavation permits, I'm trying to steal Hilliard's at the moment. I've got friends in Hilliard and they share their stuff with me. They are generally issued at risk, so that if they do a bunch of stuff based on the mass excavation plan and we don't approve the construction plans, we make them do something different. Sorry for your luck. You get to go redo the mass, that portion that needs to be redone. That's on you, and that's the penalty you pay, or that's the price you pay for being able to get ahead a little bit. And most developers happy to do that, happy to take that risk on. So that's where we are with that. There were some contingencies added to the approval of the preliminary plat by the Planning and Zoning Commission, and I'm still working with the engineer to resolve some of these open issues there. So that has not been resolved yet. But I expect it will be resolved. We discussed in the Services Committee the Bowman Street flooding issues and the work that we are undertaking on behalf of Sunbury, and we hope to have a review memo in the next week or so with articulating some ideas on what we can do and what those costs might include. Vantage Logistics is on your agenda this evening to approve the major site plan approval. They are very anxious to get started, and I'm sure would hope that you will find in favor. They are gearing up. They are anticipating starting next week, should council approve their application this evening as an emergency. 21 2021 street program, the contract documents are being assembled, or the contracts are being executed and assembled, and we're getting ready to go on that as well. The reservoirs project started this week, finally. So we're pretty excited about that and have great anticipation for that. The Little Walnut Creek Interceptor Sewer, I am in possession of the AEP easement from the Homeowners Association. I will deliver it to AEP tomorrow. And that, coupled with execution of the agreement for contribution and aid of construction and a little check, should get AEP moving forward pretty quickly now. And that will clear that obstacle and let our contractor get into the lift station. Rolling Hills is under construction. They're moving earth. They're putting in sanitary sewers. Newman Roofing is under construction. He's moved a lot of dirt out there, got his detention basin going. His warehouse is coming out of the ground. He's making good progress. The North Miller office building, the site work is about half done. The building shell is mostly done from what I can tell. I haven't seen much progress on that. I'm not sure what the deal is, but it's pretty close to the finish line if you could find some time to get in and finish it. The car wash site work is half done perhaps, and it looks like they're getting ready to come out of the ground with the building on that one too. High school construction continues. I've not heard anything to suggest that they won't make their completion date of December for a January opening. Magnolia Park, plans were approved by council. I've still not heard from the developer for a pre-construction meeting. I'm not sure what's going on there, but they're, as soon as they have a pre-con meeting and submit some inspection fees, they'll be good to go. We reviewed 4 house permits and 1 right-of-way permit. So with that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer.
Did you mention the building that, the truck company, the company that builds the trailers?
Girling.
What was that?
Girling?
Yes, Girling.
I did not mention them, but their plans were approved a long time ago and they've never come back.
What were those plans? I can't remember. What were those?
He wanted to build another building out up against the houses in the back of the site. And he wanted to build 2 or 3 buildings, or 4 perhaps. And he's going to phase them in. So he only wanted to build the first one, but it was right up against the houses. There were screening issues. There were quality of building material issues. You know, this is a legacy site. And so it's the old fashioned steel building industrial site. Our code requires a little better now. They didn't want to do a little better. They weren't excited about doing a little better. They weren't excited about the setbacks and the screening requirements. We worked through all that. But I think what happened is at the end of the day, the balance tipped and it became, the costs were more than they anticipated for everything they agreed to do. That would be my guess. They've never come to me and told me that, but so nothing's happened there. Yeah.
Anything else for Mr. Parkins?
Thank you.
A lot going on. Thank you. We have an action-packed agenda. We are under the resolutions and ordinance section of the meeting. And unless I'm told otherwise, I thought we were almost a clean sweep on what needs passed tonight. There may be one that does not. A lot of high-flying action here. No 3rd reading resolutions. We have 2nd reading resolution number 2021.11, a resolution accepting the amounts and rates determined by the Budget Commission, authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor and declaring an emergency. Needs to go.
That is the first step of the budget process. The budget subcommittee met last week. We went through everything and it is ready to pass.
We need to pass that as an emergency right now.
It's due to the county.
Would you talk into your microphone? I can't hear you.
Yes, we
I
do
heard
need
her.
to pass it by, we do need to pass it by emergency. It is the first step of the budget process. The subcommittee met last week and they have gone over everything and it is ready to pass.
I'll take the first crack at it. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
Second by Greg Elliott. Discussion. Roll call.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Greg Elliott.
Yes.
Tim Goes.
Yes.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
Martin Fisher.
Yes.
Cindy Cooper.
Yes.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
7 yeas.
I'd like to make a motion on the emergency.
Second.
Second by Greg Elliott. Discussion. Roll call.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
Martin Fisher,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper,
Yes.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
7 yeas.
I'd like to make a motion on the resolution number 2021.11.
Second.
Second by Greg Elliott. Discussion. Roll call.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
Martin Fisher,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper,
Yes.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
7 yeas.
First reading resolution 2021.12, a resolution authorizing the expenditure of village funds in support of a foundation grant and cooperative effort of the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission, MORPC, related to Central Ohio Greenways Trail and Towns, declaring an emergency. This is a $2,000 investment for the Trail Towns item that Tim Ghost and the Parks Commission unanimously supported earlier tonight.
Motion to suspend the rules.
Well,
Motion to suspend the
Where
rules.
does the funds come out of? I just
It's
question.
$2,000 general fund.
General fund? Okay.
I'll second.
We have a first by Dave Martin, second by Cindy Cooper. Discussion. Roll call.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper,
Yes.
Martin Fisher,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
7 yeas.
I'm sorry. Motion on the emergency.
Second.
Motion by Dave Martin, second by Cindy Cooper. Discussion. I would love to have the authority to go ahead and spend this money without coming to council if you so talk that through in our finance committee next meeting. Roll call.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper,
Yes.
Martin Fisher,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
7 yeas.
Motion on resolution 2021.12.
Motion by Dave Martin,
Second.
second by Cindy Cooper. Remember, it's just $2,000, folks. Roll call.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper,
Yes.
Martin Fisher,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
7 yeas.
We're on to ordinances, third reading ordinance 2021.33. An ordinance approving the commercial and industrial site plan for the building application of Sori Properties LLC and Vantage Logistics for the construction of a building expansion and relocated site for parking to be located at 730 Kintner Parkway and declaring an emergency. Motion to suspend the rules.
Already had 3 readings, so just need the emergency.
Just need the emergency.
Rescind my motion. Motion to emergency it.
Second.
We got a second by Damon Capel. Passing the gun. Discussion. Roll call.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Martin Fisher,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper,
Yes.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
7 yeas.
Motion on ordinance 2021.33.
Second.
Second by Damon Capel. Discussion. Roll call.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Martin Fisher,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper,
Yes.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
7 yeas.
We have a second reading on the ordinance 2021.36, an ordinance providing for the employment of the director of law. I believe we're at jeopardy without legal.
If we could do a suspension and a vote, you don't need the emergency and there'll be no gap. We'll
Okay.
provide it our 30 days.
All righty.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Got a second. First by Cindy Cooper on the suspension, second by Greg Elliott. Discussion. Roll call.
Cindy Cooper,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Martin Fisher,
Yes.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
7 yeas.
Motion on the ordinance 2021.36.
Second.
First and second, Cindy Cooper, Greg Elliott. We look forward to doing business with you for the next 3 years. Mr. Breen?
Oh, it's 3 years?
Yes.
He has a hard bargain, the guy in the chair.
Roll call.
Cindy Cooper,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
Martin Fisher,
Yes.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
7 yeas.
Appreciate the trust, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
First reading, ordinance number 2021.01, second amended, an ordinance amending the 2021 annual appropriations and declaring an emergency. I think that first reading,
I want it to be just first reading.
Oh, okay.
because, we don't have to pass it tonight. This is just moving some money around, getting things ready for the parks matching funds, so it is just first reading.
Thank you.
Part of what Damon and I did when we met with Kathy last week in the subcommittee.
Awesome, thank you. Ordinance 2021.37, an ordinance authorizing the execution of a mutual aid agreement between the Village of Sunbury and various political subdivisions within Delaware County to provide emergency police protection services and declaring an emergency. We do need this. This is so we can partner with other jurisdictions, as it states. It also gives us the ability to bring on other officers outside of Sunbury for special duty for events such as Sizzle. That's one of the components of this agreement.
Motion to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules by Damon Campbell, Martin Fisher, second. Discussion. Roll call.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
Tim Ghost.
Yes.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Greg Elliott.
Yes.
Martin Fisher.
Yes.
Cindy Cooper.
Yes.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
7 yeas.
Motion on the emergency.
Motion on the
Second.
emergency, second by Martin Fisher. Discussion. Roll call.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
Martin Fisher.
Yes.
Tim Ghost.
Yes.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Greg Elliott.
Yes.
Cindy Cooper.
Yes.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
7 yeas.
Motion on ordinance 2021.37.
Second.
Motion on the ordinance, second by Martin Fisher. First was Damon Capel. Discussion. Roll call.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
Martin Fisher.
Yes.
Greg Elliott.
Yes.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Tim Ghost.
Yes.
Cindy Cooper.
Yes.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
7 yeas.
We're on to ordinance 2021.38, an ordinance providing for the employment of Stephen Piles as village administrator, authorizing the mayor to execute an employment contract and declaring an emergency.
Motion to suspend the rule.
Motion to suspend the rules,
Second.
second by Greg Elliott. First one was by Dave Martin. Discussion. Roll call.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
Greg Elliott.
Yes.
Cindy Cooper.
Yes.
Martin Fisher.
Yes.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Tim Ghost.
Yes.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
7 yeas.
Motion on the emergency.
Motion on the emergency, Dave
Second.
Martin, second by Greg Elliott. Discussion. Roll call.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
Greg Elliott.
Yes.
Cindy Cooper.
Yes.
Martin Fisher.
Yes.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Tim Ghost.
Yes.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
7 yeas.
Motion on ordinance number 2021.38.
Motion by Dave Martin,
Second.
second by Greg Elliott. Discussion. Gotta say something to Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome. And congratulations.
Best of luck.
How you guys gonna?
You have to deal with us. I'm sorry.
I'd just like to know if Steve missed a meeting somewhere or something.
Steve missed the meeting?
He said they're going, wait, what am I getting signed up for?
I'm fully aware and ready to embark, so thank you.
Awesome.
Many discussions. over
Don't
the past
take us,
week.
we haven't voted yet.
That's right. Yeah. Roll call.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
Greg Elliott.
Yes.
Cindy Cooper.
Yes.
Martin Fisher.
Yes.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
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 7 yeas.
With emphasis.
I'll say thank
This
you.
is not on the agenda, but I do have an oath. Would you like to administer that now, tonight?
Yes, please.
Please.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you.
I guess, oh, we have a photographer. I don't have
Yeah.
to take pictures.
We've got Lenny.
Fired up, Lenny.
I was like, I get sick. No.
I can move.
Take them, hey Dave, take the mic. please.
No, you're good. I thought you were gonna do karaoke.
Free birds.
I need a few beers first for that.
I'll move out way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this guy just a sports coat, he's got a suit on. Wow.
One night only.
Ready to go?
You raise your right hand. I, Stephen Piles,
I, Stephen Piles,
do hereby solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear
or affirm
or affirm
that I will support
that I will support
the laws of the United States of America,
the laws of the United States of America,
the state of Ohio,
the state of Ohio,
and the village of Sunbury,
and the village of Sunbury,
and to faithfully,
and to faithfully,
honestly, honestly,
and impartially
and impartially
discharge my duties
discharge my duties
as Sunbury Village Administrator
as Sunbury Village Administrator
for the duration
for the duration
of my term in office.
of my term in office. Congratulations.
Very good.
Sign on the dotted line.
Say 4 or 5.
Four. 3 more hours.
I'll get it back to you, Steve.
Congratulations, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This way, we all sitting now, for each of y'all to tell
On to ordinance 2021.39, ordinance amending positions and pay ranges for employees of the Village of Sunbury, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. I wanted to say just a couple things about this. We did make a couple adjustments to the pay ordinance. One was the lieutenant to deputy chief. The other was the increase in administrator top range salary. Based on the range that we had approved, or the salary. And the last one was the assistant administrator position, pay rate being created, I believe is what it was. Any questions on that? It is in your packet. And I'll add one additional item. Here is the assistant administrator position. I believe we will have some information to review at our next meeting about starting the job search for that position. Moving fast. Right, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
Second by Damon Capel. Discussion. Roll call.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
Tim Ghost.
Yes.
Greg Elliott.
Yes.
Martin Fisher.
Yes.
Cindy Cooper.
Yes.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
7 yeas.
Make a motion on the emergency.
Second.
Second by Damon Capel. Discussion. Roll call.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
Tim Ghost.
Yes.
Greg Elliott.
Yes.
Martin Fisher.
Yes.
Cindy Cooper.
Yes.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
7 yeas.
I'd like to make a motion on ordinance 2021.39.
Second.
Second by Damon Capel. Discussion. Roll call.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
Tim Ghost.
Yes.
Greg Elliott.
Yes.
Martin Fisher.
Yes.
Cindy Cooper.
Yes.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
7 yeas.
Ordinance 2021.40, an ordinance authorizing the execution of a mutual aid agreement between the Village of Sunbury and the Sheriff's Department of Morrow County, Ohio, to provide emergency police protection services and declaring an emergency. And this is virtually the same exact agreement with Morrow County. It gives us greater latitude, more selection, diversity, all the good things.
Motion to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules by Greg Elliott. Second by Martin Fisher. Discussion. Roll call.
Greg Elliott.
Yes.
Martin Fisher.
Yes.
Cindy Cooper.
Yes.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Tim Ghost.
Yes.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
7 yeas.
Motion on the emergency.
Motion on emergency.
Second.
Second by Martin Fisher. First by Greg Elliott. Discussion. Roll call.
Greg Elliott.
Yes.
Martin Fisher.
Yes.
Cindy Cooper.
Yes.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Tim Ghost.
Yes.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
7 yeas.
Motion on ordinance, number 2021.40.
Second.
Motion by Greg Elliott. Second by Martin Fisher. Rapid fire discussion. Roll call.
Greg Elliott.
Yes.
Martin Fisher.
Yes.
Cindy Cooper.
Yes.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Tim Ghost.
Yes.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
7 yeas.
I want to say thank you. I know you put in a lot of work.
I did hear from the chief tonight. He's actually remote and doing some training, I think down in Tennessee.
Yes.
So that was going well, but he said that the chief in Morrow County had approved this and they're fired up to come down, help us with sizzle.
I'm sure they are.
Comment, you know, Sparta's kind of right up the road from us. They might even be able to execute some warrants while we're down here.
I wanted to say just holistically on the amount of legislation that was just approved and the amount of work that goes into this by everybody kind of on that side and many others. I just want to say thank you. You guys do a really good job day in and day out. Make our jobs easy. Thank you. All right. We're through the legislation. We're on a new and unfinished business. We do have a purchase order 34879 CT Consultants Phase 3 Trail, $29,900. And I'm ready to sign the check. I'll make
We need a motion to approve it.
I'll make the motion.
I'll make the motion to approve it.
Okay, well, I'll second that. Motion by Greg Elliott, second by Joe St. John. Discussion. Roll call.
Greg Elliott.
Yes.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Tim Ghost.
Yes.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
Martin Fisher.
Yes.
Cindy Cooper.
Yes.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
7 yeas.
We did have an item on here. It says right away objects. I think we discussed that.
We covered that a lot.
We need to talk about anything else on that.
I don't believe so. I
Damon
think
wants
that's
to.
in Steve's capable hands at this point, right?
I know you talked about it in committee. I wasn't involved in that discussion. Is there a message to be communicated then by the administration or?
We had settled on Steve coordinating with you to see what our limitations were as far as getting a process set up for granting licenses or granting
I think we're
permits.
going to do that.
Yeah.
And that's part of what we were talking about tonight. Will be, I think it will have the ability to encompass everything. But what about not that situation, but the residential
It
subdivision?
would fit into the
It's gonna
same
fit
thing.
in.
Even with the insurance recommendation.
That's.
I mean, based on what they're saying.
We had,
Our understanding was that the insurance issue comes that when we have a process in place, it would alleviate the insurance liability issue. Am I incorrect in that?
No, I do not think you're correct.
Okay.
I thought, from what I understood, was once we had the plan or to get the permit in place, part of the permit was for whomever put it in or who wants to utilize it has to have insurance, and we have to be co-insured as part of that insurance. So whether it's a basketball hoop or whether it's a knee wall, whatever it is in the right of way, there has to be insurance and we have to be co-insured as part of the process.
Yeah, that wasn't what, I don't know if you all were copied on the email, but that's not what our insurance representative said to us today.
Okay. Then we misunderstood then.
Yeah.
So it's more immediate than we understood it to be?
I think,
Yes.
we can take it under advisement. I mean, and again, I talked with Tim about this today, and I can read you the email, but, there is a stark difference between what we're talking about here and what we're talking about out there. And the fact that is it's what is happening out there is encouraging kids to play in the right of way.
Yeah, that's called an attractive nuisance.
And it will extinguish our sovereign immunity, potentially, because it is an attractive nuisance, and it's even willful and wanton to the extent one of those kids, they've got that hoop right by the curb. If some kid does a header into that curb and ends up in a coma, we may have bought that liability. It will not only be, it will be stripped of our sovereign immunity, and it will potentially be an attractive nuisance and willful and wanton, with the willful and wanton conduct by us because we know of it and we permitted it. And I don't know that the permitting process would absolve us of that. And I don't know that there's an amount of insurance. I mean, we carry $11 million worth of liability coverage. Is that private homeowner going to get an $11 million liability policy for that basketball hoop for every kid that plays? And then how do you monitor that?
Yeah.
Again, I'm just concerned with that type of, what we're talking about, it's apples and oranges things. I still think the right of way permit, we need it. And to the extent somebody wants to put something in a right of way that come through the permit process, that everything we're uncovering about those type of things in the right of way says, thou shalt not do it. We have an obligation as a municipality to keep our public right of ways free from obstruction. There was one example that was found in was for a wooden flagpole, which again, there's all kind of reasons, I guess, that might be an exception, but there are some links to Miami Township doing a blanket, thou shalt remove all the basketball poles.
Like that.
Yeah. And the reason they're doing it is just because of this. That's why we reached out to the insurance company. What is our duty here? What happens if a kid chases a basketball into that street and gets hit by a car, what happens if the kid does a header into that curb? And basically he says, you know, I can't tell you if it's covered or not, but I can tell you your sovereign immunity may be lost, and the village may be responsible under a policy, which of course affects our premium.
And the reason being is we're normally immune under ORC 2744 governmental immunity statute for normal, ordinary type negligent situations. But when you enter in a situation and we become aware of, and then don't do something expeditiously to remedy a higher, more hazardous, risky situation involving a attractive nuisance that we're now aware of, we have an extraordinary duty to do something expeditiously to remedy it. Otherwise, I mean, we run the risk of being stripped of our immunity. And if someone has a major incident out there, we could be held liable.
So I'm sorry, we don't need to do anything but enforce existing code then.
Well, I mean, this isn't necessarily code. I mean, there is state law that tells us to keep the streets free from obstructions, and we've done our due diligence now, and our insurance carrier just today wrote some opinion saying it's my recommendation to get it back out.
Yeah.
And so I think the way I saw it maybe proceeding forward was to invite the parties that are involved in this. And I don't know if you want to invite them to this meeting or just invite them into, you know, into the town, into the municipal building to have a discussion. Let them have their say, but understand, you know, from our perspective, it's a liability issue. You know, the other thing that,
and we're liable,
you know, we have discussed, nobody hears against kids, and nobody hears against a kid having a recreational opportunity, but there's a full court basketball, you know, in that subdivision, literally less than half a mile walk away.
Opportunities are there.
You know, the opportunity is there. It may not be as convenient as the public street right by your house, but it's a public street.
It's not inconvenient.
It's certainly not. Yeah. Not like there's nothing. That's for sure.
We have a high risk situation that's been created by a resident in our right of way. If it was a wider right of way, for example, and they put a pool in it, same thing.
Well, yeah.
We'd be really concerned.
Yes.
I mean, same reason here. They're playing sports around this thing in our right of way. There can be serious injuries here.
Yeah.
And the final balancing thing that we've talked about administratively, and I haven't talked with all of you about it, some of you, but that is a public street. It doesn't go anywhere right now, but it's a public street. When you buy the house next to a public street and you build a deck and you know, you don't expect there to be basketball being played in the street, right? 30 feet from your deck. If anybody's ever sat by a basketball court and tried to read or relax like you do in your backyard, it's hard when that ball's banging.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a quiet enjoyment to the residents of that area. It's one thing if you put it in your front yard, on your driveway.
Right.
It's another thing if they go to a designated park area. It's if it's in your own backyard. But again, this is different. So, and the other thing the insurance agent said is, this was done without permission.
Right.
Right? No one asked you.
Right.
But now you know about it. So you're on full notice.
No doubt. And it's been more than a reasonable amount of time. So we need to really move forward.
So how do we enforce it? What do we just tell them to take it down immediately?
We'll have to notify them to take it down. To the extent they don't, then we'll have to enforce it through the court system. They don't have any right to put no one has a right to put a basketball hoop in one of our streets.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Has the village been, I missed the streets meeting. Has the village been in contact with the homeowner who put it in? Okay.
And it's a neighborhood thing now.
Okay.
We all support it. Why should we have to take it down? It's next to my sidewalk. Why should I have to take it down? But you know, a public right of way goes through it's the curb, it's the tree lawn, it's the sidewalk. You can't just do whatever you want in that area. And some people say, well, that's not fair because I have to mow it. But that's the way cities and villages work. We don't.
It's injured. Everybody pays for it, whether you live in that cul-de-sac on that 4-house section. If you live in that neighborhood, if you live in Cindy's neighborhood, you're paying the cost.
So it's, you know, again, I'm glad to have more discussion. I'm glad to have them back to tell them about the insurance, but to the extent you want to stamp it with council action, I think that's going to help your administration as to what you want to do. If you don't want to act on it, absolutely, I think, have to act on it within a couple of weeks. But I just hope that nothing happens. Again, the thing, if anybody's ever played basketball, that hoop is dead on line on the concrete curb.
The email today said grossly negligent. We would be grossly negligent.
So we need to-
if we do not take
and
action.
Gross negligence is big.
That no longer insulates us from governmental immunity statute.
That's
Yeah,
the
we don't
words that
wanna
stuck
be-
with me all day.
Yeah, we don't want to be gross negligence means. this.
Well, I can tell you this, when the Powell police officer shot the pizza delivery guy, this has been, I don't know how long ago that was, 14 years ago, probably 15, but they had just increased their liability limits. And thank goodness they did, because I have it from reliable sources, they would have been in bankruptcy but for it. I mean, there are things that are liable, there's liability and then there's real liability.
Yeah.
And a kid ends up in a coma, that's real liability. I mean, that's 6 figures.
So we have to, I guess my thought process is we have to let them know they have to take it down within 2 weeks.
And if they don't, then we'll come out. I think we need to add, we're gonna come out and do it if you don't.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think there should be any more discussion about it. I mean, we tell them it has to come down, period. That's it.
Now, to the extent you want to have a meeting with them to convey that message,
They can come to the next council meeting.
why invite them into a meeting, or if they want to come here to complain, I guess, I think I would go ahead. My suggestion would be, based on that insurance letter, that you take action. To the extent they want to have discussion about, to the extent we want to convey the message administratively that council has taken action, it's based on this, give them the insurance opinion, blah, 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 you got to get it down. I'm sorry, we've talked about it, but the final straw was the liability and the recommendation from the village insurance company. You can't have it.
Now, does this apply to, there's several in this neighborhood. Does this apply to all of them?
Well, the others that we know of
This was
are
permanent.
temporary, and you have to decide on that, sure.
Yeah.
You saw, I think, the link to the one in Miami Township. It was a portable, temporary one, but it's sitting right in the street.
They're in the street, right?
Not in the driveway, in the street. Where I've seen them historically, where they haven't necessarily been as big of an issue, been in cul-de-sacs and places like that.
Yeah.
It's really not through traffic.
There's
Again,
still
they
a
could pull
curb.
it right back up in the driveway for the snow plows, for whatever. It's not really in it. And again, you could say, well, this is similar to that. Other than, the ones that sit on bases have to be away from the curb. This is right on the curb.
Well, we got to look at the one in the end of Saffron Drive also, because
Yeah.
it's temporary,
It's the
but it
same.
sits on the
Yeah.
curb.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's the
And
same
really,
thing.
all of them should be, if you're gonna take, you probably want to be uniform with it and
Yeah.
require them to move it into their driveway. To the extent somebody pulls it down there on a weekend because they're having a big ball game and they pull it back in, we weren't aware of it, maybe, that's one thing.
Yeah.
Is this,
Have it sit there all the time and you know about it, then I think we get into potential legal issues.
Gross
is
negligence.
this a letter you would be willing to draft?
Yeah, I would work on it with Steve.
Okay,
It would probably come from your administrator with me as a
right.
copy.
Do you need direction from council to write that letter?
I think it would be more forceful if you all weighed in on it. And the fact that we have that opinion from the insurer, to me, directs that something be done. I would prefer that it come from you all, because I don't want necessarily, because we've already been talking with them. I know Steve's had discussions with them. I know Alan had discussions with them. But to the extent we've gone through insurance and it's come to the legislative body and you say it's got to go, then we would be conveying that message.
I'll make a motion to draft that letter immediately.
Tonight.
Motion.
Second.
Second by Cindy Cooper. One thing on the discussion with the resident, and we just hand them a letter and we don't meet with these folks. We're putting Steve on an island. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah.
The letter stands on its own legs with our backing, but I think the right thing to do is to meet with.
I think
I think
to
we'll
call them
offer
in
it,
and convey
yeah.
the message, that's the way we've done things in this village for a long time.
Yeah, I
And
think we
this
should.
isn't personal.
Absolutely.
This is about what is legal, what isn't, and liabilities. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah, it's
And-
about-
And we can give them a reasonable amount of time to remove it, But the playing of the games has to cease and desist immediately. To the extent they don't, then we'll send the police out there to break them up. That potentially limits the liability right there, because the kids aren't playing, they're not gonna get hurt. We can give them a reasonable amount of time to take it down and relocate it wherever they want to relocate it. That's outside of the public right of way.
Further discussion? Sorry. Roll call.
Martin Fisher,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper,
Yes.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
7 yeas.
Right. Your unfinished business, Dave Martin? No. Mrs. Cooper?
Yes, I had two things. One, just a quick question to Steve. Kristen Hilson from the Delaware Soil and Water had reached out that she was going to come to a council meeting after June's replacement was in, but we can talk about this later. I'm almost thinking it would be more beneficial for her just to come to a parks meeting. I had gone to a meeting with her and Alan, maybe a beginning of July, maybe. She had some ideas for some volunteering. And we've already passed the agreement to work with them, so I don't know that it really needs to go to the full body of council now. But we can talk about that later. Also, just another thing, Cindy and Teresa from the Civic Association asked me to speak on their behalf about Sizzle and their request for volunteers. Cindy is at the poor class tonight and Teresa is on vacation, but they are still looking for volunteers for Sizzle. I will send out the sign up genius for you guys just so you all can see what's available if anybody wants to help. I know they're looking for, I think, Friday night help, late Saturday night help, 8 to 11 p.m. and Sunday morning help. Myself, Mr. Ghost, we're signed up to help.
I'm signed up.
You're signed up now too? Okay, great. Are you with me
I'm 8 to 11
on the square side?
on the bar
Oh, okay.
or in the, whatever they call
We
it.
volunteered together last year. Yeah, it really, and they will tell you this, it's a lot of fun, but it's not a joke. It's a lot of fun to people watch, to hang out with the residents, to ID folks that are 70 years old. I mean, I believe it's the permit that Civic gets that says you have to ID every single body who walks in. So if someone walks in and they're, got a big long Santa beard, you got to ID them. And it's a lot of fun because every 70-year-old woman loves to be carded. So it's really a lot of fun. So I'll send out the sign up genius to staff and council and on Cindy and Teresa's behalf.
40-year-old men like being carded as well, just FYI.
It's a lot of fun. I would recommend it. That's it.
Thank you.
Nothing here?
Nothing.
Mr. Groves?
No, not tonight.
Did we make a decision on the smart bill technology or?
I saw it was in there,
I
but
just see- I
it-
saw it on the
I
last page.
kind of want a direction from you guys. If is that the format you want to see? Does that answer your questions? And if so, then I will bring him to review the contract for next time.
I would like for Bream to review the contract. I like the concept. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Does that comparison answer your questions that you were having? Because I was trying to show what we've got now, what the two smart bill would be, and in real time and that kind of stuff. So if it doesn't answer something you need, let me know and I will find it for you.
I think when we talked last time, I think you explained it pretty well as well. So,
Okay.
yeah, I think we
Then I
just
will
review the
have
contract.
him review it and get it ready and bring it next time, if that's okay.
Yep. Oh,
That works. You don't need a motion for us to say, get her done. All right, sounds good. Thank you. All right, anything else? Right now,
Motion to adjourn.
we need an executive session.
Yes.
We do.
What?
Sorry, it's not on the agenda. It's an emergency.
It's not on the agenda.
Impromptu. We'd like to add an item to the agenda. That would
It's
be
gotta be
executive
written
session.
down somewhere. All right.
Is the Ohio Revised Code 121.22G, to consider the purchase of property, real property for public purposes.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by
Motion.
Joe St. John, Greg Elliott, second. Discussion. Roll call.
Joe St. John?
Yes.
Greg Elliott?
Yes.
Tim Ghost?
Yes.
Damon Capel?
Yes.
Martin Fisher?
Yes.
Cindy Cooper?
Yes.
Dave Martin?
Yes.
7 days.